Danny Califf has scored the opening goal.
And we're off. Okay. Welcome to the WTF, Where's the Focus podcast. I'm going to bring you a weekly short message on where you put your focus as it relates to sales and building successful business relationships. Knowing where your focus goes, your energy flows. I'm Dan Manginelli, the author of the books Wake Up, Jumpstart the Life You've Always Had in Mind, and Shake It Up, Big Dreams and Bold Choices on the Road to Success. A national speaker on staying motivated and inspired with the right mindset and coach top salespeople around the nation. So let's get going with WTF. Welcome back to the WTF, Where's the Focus podcast. Thank you. We are in September. September just came off of Labor Day. How you feeling? Feeling a little bloated, Alicia? You good? Big E is on the producing board and camera. The boss lady Jen's hitting up the board. Yes, it's the third quarter. It's the last month of the third quarter. Imagine that. Weren't we just saying Happy New Year? I think I pulled a Rip Van Winkle and fell asleep for the last 8 months. There, see, Jen, see how the timing? It only takes us a couple of times to get the timing right. Jeez, perfect. If you haven't liked or shared the podcast yet, I know you will today. We have a great, great guest. And just in case you don't want to wait till the end to say, my gosh, that was a fabulous guest, push like, share, and do all the things you need to help us out there. We have a big, big treat today. Our guest I'm a fanboy of as well. He's a former Major League Soccer star, a United States Olympic team member, and a soccer great. Just to kind of give you a rundown of what he's done and his accomplishments. He went to the University of Maryland from 98 to 2000. As a freshman, he started 28 teams games. He's named soccer's All-American freshman team. Helped to lead the Tarpons. Fear the Turtle. Go Tarps. I know that my wife went to University of Maryland. That's why I only knew Fear the Turtle. I think I have a blanket that has the little turtle on it.
Yeah, go Terps. Go Terps. Yes, sir.
In his second year of college, he started 20 games and was named the NCAA third team All-American. After his sophomore season, Califf. Thank you. Califf. Just kidding. I know his name, right? Contract with the MLS and entered the league in the 2000 MLS Super Draft. He was selected 6th overall by the Los Angeles Galaxy, which I am supporting today. Look at that. Thank you. We get another one, Jen, later. He was immediately slotted into Galaxy's starting lineup and would establish himself as one of the best central defenders in the league, helping the team in the U.S. Open Cup in 2001 and MLS Cup in 2002. Traded to San Jose Earthquakes for the 2005 season and was named to the MLS Best Six for the first time. He left the Quakes just after one season and went to Aalborg in Denmark. And his full year in Aalborg, he helped the team win a bronze medal in 2006 and 2007. He was named captain in 2007 and 2008 season, helped Aalborg win a gold medal. 2009, he went to the Philadelphia Union and was announced the team's captain and was named a nominee for the MLS All-Star Game. It was announced that he was the 5th defender voting for All-Star Game. That's amazing. 2012, he was traded to Chivas, USA. Did I say it right that time?
Yes, sir.
I got it. I keep thinking I want to drink every time I say that. It looks like that. The 12-year-old to the 18-year-old. Chivas in USA, the 2012 season, he entered the 2012 re-entry draft. In December of 2012, he was selected by Toronto Football Club. Was the first pick in the Stage 2 draft and then signed a contract with Toronto for the 2013 season. He's played in the United States national team at every level. 2000 Sydney Olympics, additionally appeared in 26 games in the full national team, getting his first cap against South Korea in 2002. He played in 2003 and 2009 in the Confederation Cup, 2009 Gold Cup, and 2007 Copa Cup. He served captain twice in 2007. The United States lost 1-0 to Colombia. Boo. During the final game in Venezuela, 2007 Copa Cup against 2009 win against Sweden. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure. The soccer great, husband, father, all around just good guy. Daniel, you say it this time. That's okay. Califf, because everybody calls it Califf, right? Is that what happens?
Absolutely.
Califf. So Daniel Califf, that's now we can hit it, Jen. I want to make sure we get the name right. Everybody knows who watches the WTF. I just make words up. I just, as I go, I figure things out, kind of make things up. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for much taking the time.
Surfer and a chef, too.
Really? Is he going to make? Really? Surfer and a chef? Well, then why don't we have him cook? We could have called the WTF cooking show today, because Lord knows you like yourself some food over there. You know, huh? You know what I'm saying?
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Unless he makes what, Hershey bars and chocolate chip cookies? What do you got?
Good s'mores.
S'mores. He likes the s'mores, Danny? Is that what he does? Let's get right to it. So, at what age did you start playing soccer?
I started around 5.
Around 5. And obviously at 5, you said to yourself, I'm going to go to the major leagues and play in the World Cup, and this is what I'm going to do. Is that how it started, or was there a progression?
No, it started out just fun. My dad went to school abroad in England and came back with a real passion for the game. And so his passion, his excitement really transferred to me, and I was a pretty active kid, so some of the other sports that are a little bit slower weren't I didn't have as much interest in.
Right.
So yeah, I just started playing. It was a chance for he and I to get to do things together.
Was he coaching you at that time?
He was coaching me, yeah. He coached for the first 7 or 8 years till I was 12 or 13. And then once I kind of got beyond his level of expertise and knowledge, he passed it on and became the manager of the club, or manager of the team. So it was a chance for us to just spend time together and do something that we really both enjoyed.
Did you go right? Because my soccer knowledge is somewhat decent, but so you have kind of the recreational soccer, and then you have, as even at 5, you can go to club soccer and you can play travel soccer and how it would work. Did you know, what point did you in your mind know, then I ask this kind of to most guests that I have on, is that you were different as far as was it speed, was it agility, or did you realize that, oh my gosh, this is something I can see myself doing?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, from, 9, 10, 11, 12, I was playing up front and I was scoring a lot of goals. So, I understood I was one of the better players on the team.
Right.
I was playing a year up, though, so I was always one of the smaller kids. So it never really gave me the thought or idea that I was one of the best kids.
Right.
It was more that I was a good player on the team, and I contributed a lot. But I never felt like I was the best. And it wasn't until I was selected through a tryout process for the youth national teams, under 17 national team, that I really felt like, okay, this. You
saw the degree of the difference in where you were playing.
Yeah, and I had that opportunity and saw kind of where the bar was, and I realized, wow, okay, I'm up pretty high in this thing, and I'm one of the better players for my age group. And so from then I really, and at that time there was no MLS, there was no professional league here. So my whole thought process was, I got to go to Europe. If I want to continue to play,
So when you were 17, there still wasn't, Major League Soccer wasn't?
It was just coming in 96. So,
okay, got it.
I was 16, heading on to 17, and it wasn't until then that there was an opportunity to even play here beyond college. So it kind of was something that was far away, you know, but something that I felt like, okay, if I can continue on this path, then maybe I have an opportunity to either go to college and play or potentially play beyond college.
Were you being recruited about 17 on the national team to play? Did Maryland have a good program, or is that why you chose?
So, it was weird. Because I played up in club soccer locally,
right.
I didn't attract a whole lot of attention locally from schools. UCLA was the place that I'd wanted to go. It was local, it was close to my house, and but I didn't get recruited. And it was the assistant coach on the under 17 national team, who was the head coach at Maryland, who ended up recruiting me and 3 other kids from that team to go to Maryland. And so I ended up moving across the country.
You're so cowboy, right?
Yeah.
And you grew up around here, so you went straight down to Maryland, which is exactly the same. The ocean is exactly the same. I mean, there's nothing, everything's
climate,
perfect.
Yeah.
So it was an easy pick up and move there. So you stayed there. You played there for 2 years, and then obviously the MLS was rolling then, right?
Yep.
I mean, it became something that this is now the direction. Now I just was going to play in Europe, but now I can actually play in America.
Yeah, there was an option there. And so it was a situation for me where it was either go to Europe or start here and try to kind of build my skills up, build my resume up, and then try to go over there. So that's ended up being kind of how I saw the latter.
Was the goal eventually to, even when you were playing Major League Soccer, to go to Europe to play? Was
Yes.
that was always the goal that we had? Did you feel, to relate it in some way in business world? Did your talent take you, or was there any kind of, did you have to sell yourself in any way? Because as a coach, when you're coaching youths, you have some kids that are really talented that just mentally, cannot sustain the mentalness. So you almost have to sell your coaches in some cases that you can handle the whole thing.
And I think that's part of the growth process. I think it would have been, if I was coming straight out of college to go to Europe, it would have been a little bit more difficult. Obviously I was playing here. The coaches and the league here had access to see me more than any other teams in Europe had access to see.
Right.
So it made more sense as a developmental step to play in MLS and then try to grow and then possibly have an opportunity when I was a little bit older.
Right.
When I had more established myself more, not only as a player, but as a professional and as a person.
In soccer, do you, if they're going to, like in the draft or however you're doing, are you meeting club owners? Are you meeting the coaches and they're making a decision based off that? Or are they making decisions just based off of pure hard talent that they've seen before? Or is there any of that pre-stuff that goes on in maybe some other sports where they're checking out the locker room psyche, they're checking if it's a fit for our team? Is this culturally going to be something? Does that happen?
It totally does.
Okay.
They talk to, I think most coaches do their due diligence and talk to other coaches, watch multiple games, talk to you.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be, after I committed to Maryland, went through and played in the under-17 World Championships and then got selected to the under-20 World Championship, or the under-20 national team. And the head coach was Ziggy Schmidt, who was the head coach of UCLA at the time.
Okay.
So he asked me to not go to Maryland and to come to UCLA, but I had already made that commitment to Maryland. And so I decided to, keep that commitment to Maryland.
Sure.
And as it worked out, a year after Ziggy wanted me to come to UCLA, he ended up taking the LA Galaxy job. So so I had him with the under-20 team, and then he took the LA Galaxy job. And then so when I was coming out for the draft, I knew that he had experience with me. I played for him for 2 years.
Right.
And then, so he knew me pretty well.
Right.
As well as you could know somebody.
And you
I
met
think,
him,
at that
and you
point.
met him from the youth soccer, or you met him
from youth national teams.
Okay, from the national teams from there. And I think that the action, I'm big on that action creates timing. I think that everything does happen for a reason. Like that happened to go to there to get you to the Galaxy, to all of a sudden you being drafted from there. But your actions early on and the things that you had to do created the timing to be in a position where he was going to different places and could take you with him.
Absolutely. It's about creating those relationships.
Yeah.
And being able to build on those relationships over time, I think,
and I think that people don't think that exists. I was told kind of early on, even coaching youth sports, is that, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right?
100%.
And I think that when you're at the stage of everybody's talented at that level, am I right?
Yep.
I mean, it's everybody's
caught up.
Right. That's a great way to put it. Like
Yeah.
in Little League, you hear this all the time. Like, my son's going to play D1 college baseball, right? But all of a sudden, by the sophomore or so, everybody catches up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because from our under-17 team, there was 3 kids that ended up becoming pros from that team.
Right.
Or 4 kids. Actually, to be quite fair, I think it was the 4 kids that went to Maryland. But then, by contrast, the under-20 team, which was just a year older, 19 out of 20 became pros.
Wow.
So when you think about that 1 year difference, but you have kids at 16 that
Right.
were really good,
Right.
but only 4 of those kids end up becoming
Right.
pros. And 3 years later, with a group that's only a year older, 19 of those kids of the 20 end up becoming pros. So there's everybody catches up.
Right. And on the other side, for me, I've saw a lot of great athletes, and the question, they were just relied 100% on their talent, right? And it happens in school sometimes, right? Your kids, some kids don't have to study, right? And I wasn't one of those kids. Just telling you right now that even though if I did study, it still wasn't that good. I don't know what happened there, but bottom line is they didn't have to. But somewhere along the line, they had to work harder to go to the next level. Yep. Did you see that a lot because you played at such a high level, where there were just kids that relied just on raw talent that didn't put in the work that they had to put in?
Absolutely, and I think that there's so much more that goes into anything. Soccer is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's more things that go into it than just on the field. Right. Managing the travel, managing being away from your family, managing how you're going to adapt with the group, how you deal with challenges that come along, injuries, not playing, mistakes, things like that. And I always felt like I was a talent maximizer, where I knew that as a defender and as a player, maybe I didn't have the most God-given talent, but I knew how to work hard.
Right.
And I knew, and I was willing to be self-critical and look for ways to improve, both on and off the field, so that I could get the most out of the talent that I had.
No, the regiment's really tough. I mean, you're playing, maybe it's twice a week sometimes, once a week for sure sometimes. What would you feel that, because we're relating this into a world of just people with life, just some relatable stories, overcoming adversity, what would you say maybe the one or two biggest adversities that you hit, either in your career, that you had to overcome that were just not debilitating, but to yourself, like, I've got to get to the next level, or I'm always big on there's two options, right? You either get better or quit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just really is. Either I get better at doing this or just stop doing it.
Yeah.
And there's the achiever and there's the average, right? The achiever says, I'm going to get better. I'm not going to quit. And a lot of the other people in the world say it's just too hard not to do so. But talk to me about overcoming some of the two biggest adversities that you think within your career.
I think the first one happened when I was younger. It happened when I was 14. I was trying out to be on the national team. At that age, you have to go through a tryout process.
Right.
And I didn't even make my district team for my own age group. I was playing up a year, so the coaches from that age group weren't as familiar with me. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was pretty good, and I thought I deserved to be there, but for whatever reason, the coach that was in charge didn't think that way, and it took a different coach coming in and putting me on the team that was the year ahead, to give me an opportunity to move on to the next.
So how does the selection process happen? Do they call you and say you made the team, or do they just put up like they used to, like when we were kids in the locker room, they say these are kids on the team and these are the kids that are cut?
Yep.
Or how?
Put up a list.
Same way. So you're looking at a list and your name wasn't on it.
Yep. And I was really disappointed, and I felt like I'd worked really hard, and I almost in a way I felt like cheated.
Right.
But it really, instead of inspiring me or pushing me away from the game, it actually did the opposite. It really fueled me to prove that I did belong.
You did belong. So like I'm saying, you took it two ways, right? You could have just said, screw everybody, screw whatever it is, but I'm going to prove to myself as well as to all these other people. And that's kind of the different ways that people, I mean, there's a big portion of it. So that was the first adversity. You've overcame that by just kind of saying, I'm going to work my way through it from there.
Yep.
And then as you were older, was there another bigger adversity that happened from there?
Yeah, in 2004 when I was with the Galaxy, after we'd won the MLS Cup, and I injured my knee, first the left knee, and then I was out for 3 months and came back for a week, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, 3 games in a row. And that third game, my leg got kicked out and the other knee went right into the turf, and I tore the meniscus on my other knee and was out for another 3 to almost 4 months. And during that time,
this is the beginning of your career too, right?
The beginning of my career
at the Galaxy.
with the Galaxy, and I just kind of established myself a little bit with the national team. Had been getting called in and doing things like that, and had played in World Cup qualifiers, and so was moving in that direction. It felt for me like everything was going in a positive upward direction. And then I ended up suffering 2 injuries and being out for a year.
Wow.
All of the 2004 season. During that season, the coach got fired. Ziggy got fired, who I ended up playing for at that time. By the end of that, I'd had him for close to 7 years as a coach. He left. Guys were leaving. I was injured, and a new coach came in, so he didn't know me. He didn't know...
Right.
Everything was kind of changing and shifting, and I didn't know where I was going to land. And it ended up being fortunate enough that there was a general manager in San Jose who knew me and traded for me, even though I was injured, and really believed in me that I could come back and be the same player that I was before being out for a year.
Was there ever a time in that, obviously your mind plays tricks on you without a doubt. Now you're injured, you get traded, right, basically. And something that, if anybody doesn't know, the trading process is really nice, right? They call you and then people come meet with you and then they say, let's talk through this. And then 4 weeks go by and they let you make it. Is that how? That's not how, far from it, right?
Not really. You get a phone call. Saying,
you've been traded.
This is what happened. You've got, the coordinator's going to call you from the other team, and you got to be up there in 3 days.
And now you're injured, and this is what I'm talking about overcoming adversity. Your mindset has to be in a way where, like, not only did I have to prove myself on my own team to come back from this, now I have to go to a team that doesn't know me, to a coach that really doesn't know me, to try to prove myself, and probably thinking I want to come back quicker than I should in most cases.
Absolutely, and I was, and this is, the year that's preceding the World Cup. Right. So I was not only trying to get back and prove that I could play on an MLS level,
right?
Because that's the first step,
right?
But it was then being able to prove that not only you could play at the MLS level, but that you're still have the quality to be able to play with the national team. And
just so my listeners, real quick, the whole goal, not the goal, the big prize for playing soccer, playing obviously a big level, doing it that way, but the big prize is playing on the national team, correct?
Correct.
So
100% representing your country is the pinnacle.
The pinnacle of I'm playing all this and I'm a professional soccer player, and even though I'm playing once a week and I'm doing these things, the ultimate goal of me doing all this and working hard is to
be available and selected for the national
team. Gotcha. So go back to that. So you were injured, and now the national selection is coming.
Yep, and I didn't get selected. Well, I just didn't.
You didn't play. It's hard to get selected when you're not playing, but that's okay. I'll take the guy with the bum knee. Right.
Right, and it was just it kept lingering, and I kept pushing harder and pushing harder, and. It was a situation that the harder I pushed, the farther I got away.
Right.
And I actually had to pull the handbrake a little bit and let my body calm down and kind of let things take their course naturally before I felt right.
Was there ever a thought in your mind like, this injury, it took a lot out of me. I missed the World Cup. I missed that. This is crazy. What am I doing?
Yes, every day.
Really?
Multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And what's all this work for if I'm not going to be able to come back and be the same, if I'm never going to be able to be right again.
So what changed? What made you say, you know what, I can do this, or I want to do
that? The belief, not only the belief in the guy that traded for me,
right?
The general manager who traded for me, I didn't want to let him down,
right?
And I felt a huge responsibility. That he brought me up there. He believed in me.
Right.
That I couldn't let him down.
Right.
And I just moved my family up to San Jose.
Wow.
It was the first time that we lived outside of Southern California. We both had grown up in Southern California. So we're moving away. I couldn't come home with my tail between my legs.
Right.
And I think that was the biggest motivating factor was I just couldn't. I couldn't go out like that.
No, I get it. I think that what we do in our minds, especially in anything or in business or life, is when you start giving yourself extra options. Like if I try this and then I try that and I do this or I try that, I can get out of it by doing this. And what most people at a higher level do is there's just not an option, right? I'm not letting this person down. I'm not letting myself down. I'm not letting my family down. My option is to work through this.
Yep.
Because in anything in life, again, you go two ways. It's an opportunity, an obstacle. You take the opportunity and you figure out, I'm going to figure this out to do so.
Absolutely.
And that's hopefully in a lot of this podcast, two things is overcoming the adversity and getting to the point where, I'm going to push through when it's hard. That's when I should get a little bit more excited when it's really difficult like that, is because that's when everybody else is going to quit.
Yeah. And if it's not hard, it's not worth it.
Right. Right.
And that's how it was for me.
Yeah.
If it felt like I really needed, I needed it to be hard.
Right.
So because then the reward is so much better.
Right. Came back.
It's worth it.
Came back. You did great. You obviously made the teams and you did that and you played there. Question I have for you is on, man, I can't imagine, like you just said, getting a phone call and someone saying, hey, you're traded, right? Yeah. Pack up your stuff and get your family and head on over to, North Carolina from the next spot,
yeah.
right? From, what is that like mentally? Like, what is it like to all of a sudden be like, you've had a camaraderie with a bunch of people who you've become very good friends with, that your lives are intertwined almost every day in most cases,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
To now, here's a new coach and here's a new teammates.
It's one of the hardest things, and it happened to me with the Galaxy in 2005, and it also happened with Philadelphia Union in 2012. And it's one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through. You start questioning yourself. You start questioning, why don't they like me? Like, why? What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I think the hardest thing is that you just don't have control over it.
Right.
You don't have control over the situation at all.
Right.
And it wasn't until I just relinquished that desire for control, and I just kind of said, you know what, whatever happens, whatever situation that I land in, I land in. But I knew that, I'm gonna work. I'm going to do what I need to do in order to be right for me and be right for my family, and kind of let some of the things that I couldn't control be out of my brain, because focusing on, especially at those times when, you don't have control, my biggest enemy was my own head.
Right.
And those thoughts that just kind of kept.
Well, there's so much we don't have
going
control
and
over,
going.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, in our lives and work and career, that you don't have control of it, right?
Yeah.
Someone you have a boss, or someone else is making the decisions, and either you follow the decisions and do your best in the decisions, or you forget it. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And you chose the other way. When did it stop being a game that you would play on Saturday afternoons, into a job? Or you?
Well, There were certainly times in my career when it felt like a job. Most of those times were when I was injured, or when I was preseason, things like that. When you're kind of going through the rough times, the times when you're putting a lot of effort in, and or things aren't going right with the coaching staff or with the players, or those are some of the times that really. That are hard, and it feels much less like fun and much more like a job. And the crazy part is that it's really those times when you're fully engaged and enjoying it that you provide the best performances.
Yeah.
And you actually do your best.
The trading had to make it feel like a business as well, right? I mean, you're leaving.
And especially towards the end of the career when my injuries started catching up. I had another knee injury towards the end of my career, and a shoulder injury, and it was just hurting every day. Having to move my family around towards the end of the career. My last 3 years, I played in 3 different teams, so having to just pick up and move. It was a little bit easier for me personally because it was just soccer, right? I just go and it's just a new group to learn and a new group to fit in with. But then when you add your family and
you were married.
in,
You were married prior to being drafted, right? Or
correct.
just when you got drafted?
Yeah.
And you had your first child just in that period of time, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot to think about. You have more responsibilities than the majority of your peers that were playing. I'm guessing in some
Correct.
cases,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
It was more responsibility. There was some really, really awesome parts to it. You know, having
Right.
kids early and
Yeah.
getting them to. I mean, one of the most rewarding things for me was to be able to have them see me play.
right.
And
We talked about that.
and
Yeah.
Just as far as like filling you up with goodness and great feelings, just to have them be able to see it and watch it and be a part of it and to run around on the field,
Right.
like I said, and feel like they own it.
Right,
you
like
know?
they're part of this. I'm
Yeah.
part of the team as well.
Yeah.
Until the people and the fans wanted autographs, and like, why do you want my dad's autograph? Like, why are you? What do you care? We gotta go home. Dinner's almost ready.
Right.
What do you got going on over here? Huh? Why do you want to? Why is everybody yelling for you? Why is everybody yelling your name, Dad? Come on. It was just Dad.
It was a neat experience. It was hard.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things that were hard about it,
Mm-hmm.
having young kids, and especially having to move,
But yeah,
pick them up out of school, and we just we're moving.
Oh no.
And but you know what, I don't, you know, looking back on it, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Oh yeah.
You know, because it, again, just to be able to share these experiences with your family, I think it's in a lot of jobs, in a lot of careers, you know, you go off to work and you do your thing and you come
Yeah.
home and it's, you know, it's your family, and the two aren't as connected.
Right.
But I really felt like, for me, they were a huge part of this whole thing. Also, it was, of course, me going to work and doing the things I needed to do and being in a routine and taking care of all the things I needed to take care of. But it was a chance to also bring them in and let them have a window into what this world or what this life is really like. And it was a really cool thing for me.
Was the pinnacle playing in the World Cup? I mean, what would you say if you were to look back on the highlight reel of your career? What would you say were the bigger highlights?
I think, the World Cup was actually the one full team tournament that I didn't play in.
Okay.
Kind of coming through, talking about adversity. I missed out on the opportunity in 2006 because of my injury.
Oh, right.
And then in 2009, I'd been 3 years with the national team leading up, and had a situation that happened with my son, his health, and had to leave camp, and I never ended up getting called back in for the 2010 World Cup. So I played in every other tournament that you could play in for the national team except the World Cup.
Wow.
But the pinnacle of my career really, I think, was not the greatest point, but one of the biggest things you remember.
If you're putting a story together in your mind, like if you're writing it, like this would be the chapter that would be the one I really, it's a really good.
It would be the Olympics, getting to play in the Olympics, and in soccer it's an under 23 tournament, so it was pretty unique for a situation for me to get to play with the under 17 national team, with the under 20 national team, then with the Olympic team, and then with the full team. So really kind of work my way up and get a world championship at 17, a world championship at 20, a world championship with the Olympics, and then be in with the national team and kind of go through that. Every experience with the national team is special. It's special in its own way.
It's the best it's the all-stars of all-stars, correct?
It's the best of the best, the highest level of competition, and the most honor that you get to represent your country. I mean, as far as for an athlete, I don't think there's anything better than getting to represent your country and be one of the best out of a whole country of people. But, so the national team has always been super special, but winning a championship in LA and winning a championship in Denmark really are highlights in different ways. Because of MLS, you have a regular season and then you have a playoff system, and so we happened to be one of the better teams. I don't think we were the best team that year that we ended up winning it as far as regular season record, but we went through the playoffs and we won the championship, and it was amazing. But then when I went to Denmark, and you have a single table system where they have promotion and relegation, we were able to put together an entire season where we were the best throughout the course of 10 months, throughout the course of the year. And it felt different because it wasn't just 6 weeks where you catch fire and you win a championship. It was 10 or 11 months of continuous work from game 1 to game 35 or game 34 that you had to be the best. Yeah. And so that's also winning a championship there, and being a foreigner and getting to be captain was just an incredible honor in and of itself. And then to win a championship and play in Europe and the Europa League and the Champions League was just, it was a career highlight.
That's awesome.
For sure.
What do you think you miss the most of the being of soccer right now? Like, you're watching it on TV all the time, I'm sure, and your kids are playing, your daughter's playing in college right now, so I mean, that's amazing. Congrats there. And your kids are still playing, all your kids. What do you miss about?
I miss the camaraderie. I miss the locker room. I miss the guys. I miss the relationships. I miss the soccer to a degree. I love the game, and right. I work in the game. I coach the game, but training days and games, they come and they go, and some are great, some stink. You're kind of in that mindset where it's whatever's coming next, what's next, and you leave kind of that past behind, and you take what you can to grow from it, and then you move on. And that really, from a soccer side, that was really that's kind of the focus. But I really miss showing up every day and having a built-in friend group. And I miss the relationships that I made and the experiences that I got to experience with a other group of people.
Right.
And those bonds that you build in that environment where we're all pulling and pushing for something that's greater than ourselves. Yeah. And I think when you're in those environments and you really can, everybody buys in. That everybody's important, everybody's role is important. Everybody needs to know their role and needs to know how to do their job. Yeah. And if you can know your role and if you can do your job to the best of your ability, and the guy next to you can, and the guy next to you can, then we can all achieve this thing that none of us would be able to achieve on our own. Yeah,
amazing, because it relates. Everybody talks about culture in companies, right? Your bigger companies, I don't care if it's Google or whatever it is, our culture. And it's because of that, like the culture you create within the locker room you were just talking about, that there's this camaraderie, that everybody's doing something for the same reason. Everybody's in there and they're sweating and they're working and they're injured and they're in ice baths and they're doing all for the same reason for this whole team.
Yep.
And the best companies, when people look back in my industry, and mostly they look back at the companies, they're not looking back because the company had the greatest whatever X or the best whatever X. They miss that camaraderie, that everybody together at the highest level and the lowest level down, we're all part of something. And creating that culture is very difficult, especially in business because of 2020. If you think about it, the culture now was turned to Zoom, right? Most people would, it was tough to play soccer on Zoom, but you couldn't do it. But in most cases for business, then everybody got away from each other. And then they wonder why they're hopping around to different places trying to find a culture, because that culture doesn't exist, because no one's in the same locker room anymore telling the same story, saying that, I lost 4 deals yesterday, and someone else going, hey, listen, that happens. Let me tell you, you'll be fine. It doesn't exist because they get in their own head very quickly, just like in a locker room when someone's saying, hey, man, you're just injured. We're going to pick it up for you, buddy. We got it. You just get better.
Absolutely. And I think there's having the shared experience is so important. The ups, the downs, the things that stink, but also sharing the joys, right? And sharing the successes,
right?
And being able to look at somebody and be like, like that person contributed to my success.
Correct.
I contributed to that person's
and you
success.
Want to stay for that. And in most cases in business, it's kind of hilarious because, multiple in my career, I've been with some great producing people or some great people, and it always ends the same way. I love you. The culture's fabulous, but this is business. I've got to make a business decision. And then you think to yourself, well, was it a business decision when I was at your kid's birthday party, or I'm the godfather to your kid, or when I spent my weekend making sure, or going out with you to make you successful? Yeah, you're right. It was just a team and we were trying to win a soccer game. But it was way more than that. Way bigger than that, that all together we were trying to do something, and you would have done anything to help someone else the same way.
100%.
And it would have been weird, they couldn't because they were under contract, for someone just to say, you know what, thanks for all the effort you put in, but I'm bailing and going over here because someone offered me an apartment.
Yeah. and just like in business and soccer, the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
You look around at your situation and you're like, oh man, well maybe this isn't, I've heard from this guy over there, that looks good. Or, look at that stadium, look at their training facility, look at this, look at that.
Yeah.
But in my experience, none of that stuff really matters.
Yeah.
It can help, if everyone's coming into a beautiful building every day and, they have that, but it really doesn't, it's the people.
Does you feel it's from the same way from the top down as well?
100%.
That culture's from the top down, from the owner, from the coach to the general manager, to whoever it is, they're supporting the culture like that.
100%. I feel like it can only, unless the only other time that I've seen it in sports is when everybody pulls together because nobody likes the top guy. Right? So at least
we're going to win in spite. In spite of that douchebag, we're still going to win.
Totally. That happens too, not as often.
Yes, but I get it.
But, in every other kind of instance, it really needs to start from the top, because the top sets the bar, and then everybody else underneath can hold each other accountable to that bar. If there's not a bar set, then it's everybody thinking what they think it is.
Correct.
And then you can look at somebody else and, well, like, why are you doing that? Well, why aren't you doing that? Well, screw you. This guy didn't say like.
And then when the bar's set, and it should be set a little bit higher, then people kind of either get upset the bar's too high, or they live up to the expectation.
Right.
And most of the time, especially in athletics, they live up to the expectation. You can keep pushing the bar to push people to go there.
Yep, absolutely.
Few more questions, because I don't want to kill all of your day here. Looking back, if you were to give your 13-year-old self, if you were to look back in that age where you kind of knew that you were excelling from there, from all the things that have happened, what advice would you say, the things that would propel to, instead of all the things that go through your head, like I don't want to do this today, or this isn't the day, or I have to make decisions that are the right way? What advice do you think that you would come back to your 13-year-old self?
I would tell him to enjoy it more.
Right.
To enjoy the process more. I was so cerebral, and I had all these thoughts, and was always thinking about this and thinking about that, and worrying about this and worrying about that. And if this guy does this, if that guy does this, I just need to do this. If I could give any advice, it'd be to enjoy the process. And life is going to happen, and it's how you react to those things in a positive way. Mistakes are going to happen. I always felt like it had to be perfect. I had to be perfect. If I went out there and made a mistake, like I was going to get cut. So it was, I felt like I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. And really, if I could, just put my arm around the kid and just say, you know what, it's going to be up, it's going to be down, it's going to be great, and it's going to stink. But let's have fun. Like, we're in this, let's enjoy it. Because really, it's that enjoyment that helps bring out the best in you.
Yeah.
The enjoyment of what you're doing, and the enjoyment of being around the people that you're doing it with. Mm-hmm. And it's really, in my experience, what it really unlocks that elite performance within yourself.
Right.
Is that enjoyment.
Last question, and I know that we're running out of film space, I think, over there, Big E. Is that what just happened? The little beeping sound that we have? I'll keep going. I just got the wrap it up sign. Holy cow.
Gotta go.
Look, I'm also a believer that we all have a story, right? And yours is a great story. And what story are we going to tell when we have to tell a story? Because that's all that's left. If you were to summarize kind of, and you're just got a long way to live, and you got a great family going on in there, if you just take that portion of that, and you were looking at just the soccer career, or just from where you are now and the different things you're doing, what would be the summary, would you say, that story? Would it be one to overcome, or what you just said? Or would it be fun? What do you think would be the title in it?
I think it's all of the above.
Right.
I think it's enjoyment in what you're doing. I think it's hard work and determination. I think it's willingness to work. It's willingness to be open and honest with the people you're doing it with, and really give of yourself.
Right.
Giving of yourself to the process. I think for me overall in the course of the whole career, it really was about trying to enjoy it, trying to overcome these things these challenges that get thrown in front of you from all different places, right. And doing that in the most positive way that you can.
I could talk to you all day, buddy. I mean, we spent probably 2 hours prior to this just talking, which at the end of this, I'm sure there'll be some more audio if you guys want to listen to some more audio just about our conversation, because there's some great stories about, a person that he wanted to meet that he ended up playing with. But before I let you go, how do we find you? What are you doing now, and what can I help you promote, or what's happening?
Yeah, I have a training company. I work with individually and in small groups with players, mentoring, field training. It's called Professional Soccer Resource.
Okay.
It's kind of a long title, but it has all the words that I wanted in it.
Where do you find it? Is it online, Professional Soccer Resource?
You find it at soccerpsr.com.
Soccerpsr.com, and you train all levels?
I train, it's mostly older kids.
Okay.
It's mostly from high school up.
Okay.
And I work with them individually and in small groups, advocate for them as they're going up through different teams or for different levels. And really try to bring a holistic approach to training.
Great.
It's not just field training, but it's all the other intangibles that go into it, being diet, recovery, sleep, hydration.
That's awesome.
And all the kind of psychosocial things,
right.
Dealing with all the things that players are kind of dealing with now.
Right.
There's a lot more to the game than just what happens on the field, as we've been talking about here.
Without a doubt, which comes to the mental aspect of anything that you're doing. One more time, it's soccerpsr.com. Soccerpsr.com.
And
I think you've got
on Instagram at @prosoccer_res.
ProSoccer_res.
Yep.
All right? ProSoccer_res. Find them there. Follow them on Instagram. I think you have a nonprofit going right now, too, don't you?
Just started a nonprofit called the PSR Foundation. And really looking to help kids as they're moving up levels from high school to college, from college to the pros, and focusing a lot on field training, but a large majority on the mentorship aspect, really trying to give back and show that we can do a lot on the field, but there's also a lot of life that we can...
Off the field things, especially distractions. Totally. I mean, you were married and have some kids, but there's some distractions that could derail people, which is phenomenal. And again, that's called, one more time.
The PSR Foundation.
PSR Foundation. It'd be something great to give to. So again, soccerpsr.com. If you have kids, guys, you're going to want to be mentored by this guy. He's amazing, not only as a soccer player in the past, but as a human being from there. So thank you again, Danny, for being on the WTF. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this to all your friends. There'll be some more bonus tracks after this if we can figure out how to do it. If my producer, he's still giving me the wrap it up sign, right? Okay. Hey, listen, I'm going to call you friend from now on. Okay. It's no longer. It's just going to be Danny, my friend. So you don't have a choice, by the way. When someone asks me, I'm going to say it's my friend. Let me give you your comments. Thanks for listening. Email me your story if you'd like to at dan@manageandonlydruke.com. Stay tuned for some bonus tracks with the great interview with Danny Califf. It was awesome. We have way more to talk about. As this was part 1, we're going to have part 2 next Tuesday. So stay tuned for part 2 with more great stories from Major League Soccer, from the United States Cup, and from overcoming adversity on how it relates to our business or just life in general. So looking forward to you. Stay tuned.
Out of my ways, new wishes far from over, bring the color.